Hello everyone. We've watched 2 lessons on Giuliani's Sonata Eroica, and in both lessons we discussed the question of what edition to use. Rather than showing those discussions, I'm recording this brief note. Sebastian and Chinois were using different editions of the sonata. Sebastian was using the earliest edition, a reprinting of the Ricordi edition from 1840. According to Brian Jeffrey, Giuliani wrote this sonata probably around 1821. By the time Ricordi printed it, Giuliani had been dead for 11 years, and the sonata seems to have been altered significantly, quite possibly by another composer. Unfortunately, this is the only source of the sonata we have, and it contains many engraving errors. This late and inauthentic edition contains almost no dynamics or slurs. We know from Giuliani's other compositions that his style of playing was not just very rich in dynamics, of course, but incorporated all kinds of articulation, many slurs. And after our lesson, I suggested to Sebastian that he might incorporate many more slurs into his performance in order to recreate how Giuliani might himself have played this piece. Chinois was using a modern edition edited by Ruggero Chiesa. This is a performance edition, with lots of added slurs, fingering, and dynamics. I think such an edition does more work for the performer than I would like. Perhaps it is best used as a reference after you've worked with the original edition and come to your own conclusions. Chiesa also corrects many mistakes. Perhaps, though, there are still more corrections that can be made. To find these mistakes, it's necessary to identify material that is used more than once, even if transposed or elaborated, and to notice any discrepancies between the two occurrences. Of course, these might be due to variety, as in the example on your screen right now, but let's not underestimate the crucial importance of repetition in sonata forms, especially between exposition and recapitulation. We should be especially suspicious when one version sounds much more true to the style than the other, and if we can see how a mistake might have occurred, an accidental being missed off, for example. All this means that we have to become very familiar with the language of early 19th century music and apply critical thinking and critical listening to this very imperfect text. This is one of the more difficult parts of the performance job, and one where responsible editors can be very helpful. And certainly Chiesa's edition is very helpful. I would recommend referring to it for corrections, and then making the following additional corrections. In the exposition, Giuliani has an 8-bar fanfare passage with a call and response pattern. He repeats it immediately with harmonics and other decorations. Welcome variety, of course. But in the repeat, the engraver has accidentally misplaced a chord. In this bar, taken from towards the end of the exposition, the Cs should be natural. When Giuliani uses the same music in the recapitulation, transposed from E major to A major, we have confirming F naturals. The naturals introduce a tinge of minor that's integral to the style of the period. Finally, in the development, measure 164, there's a missing F sharp. The descending chromatic bass is a standard pattern of the time, and here it even continues a descent from G sharp in the bass in the previous measure. In the original edition, there's a natural sign next to the F on the 3rd beat. The best explanation for this sign, I think, is that it is intended to cancel a sharp on the previous beat, and this was accidentally omitted by the engraver. Thank you very much.